Hello, second graders. You have been learning about healthy habits and making good choices when eating. You read the story Gregory the Terrible Eater. This week, you have been writing your opinion writing piece. Do you think Gregory makes good choices and is a healthy eater? You have already written your topic sentence, your opinion, and your 3 reasons. Remember, that you have your organizer where you have been filling out your information. If you do not have these parts completed yet, please go back to the previous lessons and complete them before you move on. Remember that OREO stands for O is for opinion, R is for reasons, E is for evidence or examples, and O is for your opinion restated or reworded using different words. Today's task, we are only going to focus on 3 examples of evidence. So we're looking at the E's. These 3 examples or evidence supports your 3 reasons from the last lesson. You may want to have the story in front of you so you can go back and look for examples from the text to find your evidence or examples. You can find the link for the text in this lesson. For our evidence or examples, this is where we copy the words from the text. This is the one time that it is okay to actually copy from the text because this is our evidence. It backs up our reasons. It gives support to the 3 reasons that you wrote in the last assignment. When we write our evidence or our examples from the text, we want to use quotation marks. Quotation marks lets the readers know that these are not your words, but someone else's words. So when we look at our 3 examples, so here are my 3 reasons and then my 3 examples. Like I said, we want to use quotation marks, and quotation marks look something like this. It tells the reader where, when we use quotation marks, we put the quotation marks in the beginning of the sentence and at the end of the sentence to let the reader know this is the beginning of someone else's words, and then this is where those words end. So when we put the quotations at the end of the sentence, we let the reader know that this is where their words stop and your words begin again. So before we actually start with our evidence and our examples, go ahead and read your first reason. My first reason I wrote, first of all, he was a picky eater. Go ahead and read your reason now. You can pause the video while you read and play again when you are ready to continue. Now that you have your first reason, we have to go back to the text to find an example or words in the story that support that reason. So if you agree that he was a healthy eater and made good choices, then you are going to look towards the end of the book for your examples. If you disagreed that Gregory was a healthy eater, then you are going to be looking in the beginning or middle of the book for your examples. So for example, my reason is I said he was a picky eater. So I need to ask myself, where in the text does it tell me about Gregory being a picky eater? So I go back to the text. And as I skim through, I find the sentence, I want what I like, said Gregory. So that is what I'm going to use as my evidence number one. So I'm going to take this sentence and go back to my organizer. I'm going to pick one of my sentence starters, the ones in green. For instance, for example, in particular, an example is, in other words, or in the story. I picked in the story because I want my reader to know where I am getting my information from, but you can pick any sentence starter you like. So I wrote in the story, Gregory the Terrible Eater, and then I wrote word for word what it said in the text. Gregory says, I want what I like, said Gregory. Notice how I put quotation marks in the beginning and at the end of my sentence. I also let my reader know who said that sentence by saying, Gregory says. Go ahead and find evidence in the story that supports your first reason. You can pause the video now and continue when you are ready. Now let's look at the second example of evidence. We are doing the same thing that we did for the first one, just looking for different evidence in the text. For example, my second reason says, another reason his meals were not balanced. I want to go into the story and find where it tells me about meals being balanced. So I'm going to go back to my story and I'm going to look, and I see, they have developed a taste for good food slowly. Try giving Gregory one new food each day until he eats everything. So that's one way, evidence from the text that tells me that he should be eating balanced meals. So I'm going to go back to my organizer. I'm going to pick one of my sentence starters. I picked, for instance, the doctor says. So who's saying it? The doctor's saying it. What does the doctor say? Start with my quotation marks. Try giving Gregory one new food each day until he eats everything. Quotation mark at the end. Go ahead, read your second reason, and find an example in the story that supports your reason. You can pause the video now, and when you are ready, click play to continue. For your third example or evidence, it is the same thing, but you're looking at your third reason and looking for an example in the story that relates to that reason. I have the reason that he ate too much food. How do I know he ate too much food? Well, as I scroll through my story, where was he eating lots of food? Gregory ate the tires and the violin. Then he slowly ate the barber pole. But when he started in on the car, he said, I've got a stomach ache. So I go back to my organizer. And for my third example or evidence, I find a different sentence starter. I use, for example, and then I copy the text. Gregory ate the tires and the violin. Then he slowly ate the barber pole. I end my quotation marks there because that's what was said in the story. I left out the part, but when he started in on the car, he said, I've got a stomach ache, because I just felt like that was too long. So I used my own words and just wrote, then he got a stomach ache. That's why it's not in quotation marks. You can pause now and write your third evidence. And when you are ready to continue, press play. Now that you have your 3 reasons, go ahead, take a photo, and upload it into SmartFox. You want to hang on to your organizer because you will be adding more to it in the next few lessons.